mentioned that this book you'd kind of had in your head for a long time,
Mhm.
about 10 years or so. So you finally get this one out. How is your writing process? How was it for this? And then how
Mhm.
has it kind of changed and evolved as you're going into like book 2 and 3 of the story?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people, a lot of indie authors, kind of go through the same experience. At least for the ones that I've talked to, where they spend a lot of time writing the first one. They draft and redraft, and it's it's the first time they've ever done something like this. And so I was talking with Z.S. Diamante, author of the Stone and Sky series, and he said something really profound, like for in a lot of ways, when it comes to the writing experience, the first book doesn't really count because it takes you 10 years. You go
Mm-hmm.
through all of this research and you go through everything, and then when you go into book two, it's a much different experience. And a lot of authors really struggle with their second book because they've gone through everything now, and so now in order to keep up with the self-imposed deadlines and the deadlines that they have elsewhere, a lot of times the timeline that they have has to be a lot more condensed, and so they have to write and then jump right into editing, jump right into commissioning a cover and formatting and all this stuff. And a lot of these steps they're taken care of simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if you have multiple books in the works, like I'm currently writing the first draft of book two while editing for the novella is going on. So it can be a lot more pressure, and I will admit a lot of it is self-imposed. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that just reminding myself why I'm doing this is because I want to, say that I created something, and because it's a story that I've wanted to tell for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just a lot of reminding yourself why you're doing it, and then also making sure that you have your ducks in a row when it comes to planning. I
Mm-hmm.
think I spent a lot of time during the first book planning how everything went and how a lot of this story was going to go and set up the sequels. And so now I think the planning was a lot more intensive for the sequels because I didn't want to write myself into a corner. And then I also was just making sure that it kind of lined up with what I thought about the trilogy big picture when I first started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I agree with you for sure about. I think most indie authors have that similar thing. I've been writing my story for over 10 years now, and kind of
Hmm.
the same thing. Like when I first started, I had never thought I'd ever even want to write anything. And so you do
Hmm.
have there's like solid few years of just like I don't even know how to do this. Like, what is dialogue and description? And, you're learning, like you do some of that in school and you do, but like it translating it into like, oh, I'm going to write my own project sometimes
Yeah.
can be hard. And so there's definitely some phases too where you go through the like, I'm going to read all of the books on writing and I'm going to learn all of
Hmm.
the rules. And then you get through that phase and then you're like, I'm going to break all the rules.
Yeah.
Like you just kind of get through this whole like there's this thing and then you finally get to where like I'm just going to write the story that I want to write.
Hmm.
I hope that like what's happened for me though is as I've worked on this one story, I have so many notes now about where it's going to go. So I kind
Hmm.
of what I hope happens is it kind of speeds up every story as I like after you get through the first one, then I've got so many notes and I know exactly what I want to do for the second one already that you just kind of speed up, hopefully.
Yeah, I do think that the process for writing this second book and planning for the second book is a lot faster, and it helps that I had some of the outline for the second book kind of penned down, like I had broad strokes of the major events penned down before the first one came out.
Hmm.
Um, but I definitely feel like I am trusting myself more with this one. I think a lot of people who are writing their second book may think, oh, I have to like put this perfect book out on the first draft, but because it takes so long to put the first book out, we don't really remember how how many drafts or like how editing went or anything like that. We just see this final product. I see this final product book that I slaved away on for 10 years.
Hmm.
And so now that the timeline is being condensed, you feel like you have to put something perfect out right away. But that's not how it works. It's a process. It
Hmm.
takes a village to, obviously you write your book, but it takes a village to get it to something more of a final project. You need editors, you need a copy editor, you need a cover artist, you need all that stuff. And
Hmm.
so just, kind of being able to step back and take a breath and say, it doesn't have to be perfect right now. You can always come back to it. Just get that first draft done. I think that that's been the most helpful in this process of me just kind of ignoring the voices in my head and keep pushing forward.